Hello everyone, my name is Xinchen Shao. Today I'm going to talk about tall poppy syndrome. Right, let's get started. So, firstly, what is tall poppy syndrome? The earliest mention of tall poppy dates back to 500 BC, according to the Oxford Dictionary of New Zealandism. A tall poppy is a conspicuously successful person whose distinction attracts envy or hostility. The tall poppy syndrome describes these aspects of culture where people of high status are resented, attacked, cut down, strung up, or criticized because they have been classified as superior to their peers. Now we have an example. Elizabeth Anna Holmes is the American founder and former CEO of Theranos in 2015. Forbes named Holmes the youngest and wealthiest self-made female, but it is enthusiasm that she is being chopped down by the media for her failure to deliver on her promised revolutionary technology and possibly for being a perpetrator of the fraud. So let's move on. Now we will come to the second point. Tall poppy syndrome in the workplace. It should be considered that tall poppy syndrome occurrence may have significant effects uh, on productivity and career advancement in the workplace. Employees working in close quarters typically share similarities in attitudes and values because of their constant communication and exchange of ideas. According to some people, even adjust their attitudes in order to fit in with their peers. This is common as people are very social animals who have evolved to rely on others for survival. According to Kirkwood 2007, the participants showed an awareness of negativity that publicly recognized success attracted both entrepreneurs and students prefer to avoid public recognition. Moreover, the parents of the student participants were also aware of such negativity. Those who have observed the effects of tall poppy syndrome or experienced it personally may also be discouraged from performing to their full potential. Now, let's move on to the next point, the high cost for employees. Tall poppy syndrome not only has an impact on individuals, it also carries a high price tag for organizations. Nearly 70% of the respondents said it impacts their productivity. In addition, 59.2% said it leaves them disengaged from their work, and 56.6% feel disengaged from their organization. It's no benefit to an organization if a man or woman, inspired to do more, takes that inspiration and talent to a competitor out of frustration. Perhaps most troubling for an employer is high cost of turnover, often packaged as two times a person's compensation. And let's not forget, we are talking about losing people. We are likely considered to be high performers, stars who are even more difficult and costly to replace. So there are 5 key steps business should take. Firstly, conduct a risk assessment. Companies need to understand exactly what torpor Tall syndrome is and how it can impact and even infect the workplace. Secondly, establish expectations. Put workplace policies in place that made it perfectly clear what behavior is acceptable and what is not. Make it clear that co-workers share common goals and that everyone will benefit from respectful, courteous, and supportive behavior. Thirdly, actually apply workplace policies. It's one thing to put policies in place, but the companies must also be willing to enforce those policies and to demonstrate that there were serious consequences for those who violate them. It must be made clear that these policies apply to everybody in the company, from top to bottom. Leaders must set an example and understand that eradicating tall poppy syndrome begins at the top. Fourthly, establish a shared responsibility. Addressing tall poppy syndrome in the workplace is everybody's responsibility. Employers, supervisors, and co-workers must all be willing to watch out for and to report the incidents of tall poppy syndrome and to support those who might be victims of it. Fifthly, train everybody to understand tall poppy syndrome. Everybody should undergo training on what tall poppy is, how to recognize it, how to avoid it, and how to support their coworkers. Everybody also needs to know the structures that are in place to allow them to report incidents of tall poppy syndrome and what steps will be taken when they do so. So, in the end, in this study, tall poppy syndrome attitudes were associated with some negative work outcomes as predicted. As predicted. Tall poppy syndrome appears to be deeply rooted in New Zealand's culture history. It is thought of as the ugly side of values of New Zealanders hold in great esteem. Modesty, humanity, few seem to be immune from tall poppy syndrome. It is here to stay for now, and for these reasons, the effects that it may have on work behavior, motivation, and attitudes should be studied further. Attitudes are capable of changing, and awareness and understanding is the first step toward creating a positive change. So that's the case study for today. Thank you very much.